I'm John Herder. It's Tuesday, August 25th. Great, as always, to have everybody along. From the experts, cross-industry network, giving you a 30-minute dose of real-time, hard-to-get business intelligence, connecting you to new professionals and new networks. So what's in it for you? Well, our promise, if all goes well, curiosity is sparked, new ideas come to light, and you may have helped the other person solve a problem or reach the opportunity faster. You know, networking has never been more important to your business than it is today. So help me welcome our guest expert, Dr. Barmak Heshmat, a disruptive growth deep tech guy. He today leads display technology startup in Silicon Valley. Prior to BRELYON, he headed up the optics group at the Meta Augmented Reality, and before that, research scientist at MIT Media Labs, directing research on advanced imaging and display systems. So no doubt, Dr. Heshmat has a curious mind. He's an inventor, and he's a disruptive CEO. Barmak, so glad that you could join us today. Tell us a little bit about your story at BRELYON. You know, the start of 2020, you were moving from concept to pilot. Maybe you can share a little bit of that and those challenges in your story. What's captured your imagination, and how are you working on your challenges today?
Yeah, thank you so much, John, for the introduction. First, making sure that you can hear me. Is it sound okay? Yeah. I was head of optics at Meta Augmented Reality, previously working on imaging systems mostly. And as you guys know, there has been a lot of traction on AR, VR, billions of dollars invested. And me and my team, we were sort of focused on future generations augmented reality headsets with much heftier sort of capabilities than what you see in the market now. And after some time, I realized that there's a big friction for people actually wearing something on their face. Even if you make it 200 grams, which by all standards, that was a good form factor, that was a good weight, that's still an object on your face for 8 hours a day, every day. So I realized that that's a big friction, and started thinking about what are other ways that we can give you immersion without the need to wear anything on your face. And that was really the core idea of BRELYON. So I started putting some prototypes together in my living room. I used my dining table as an optics table, and started inviting VCs to my house, which is a tiny apartment, which was very embarrassing. But after some time I realized I really have to get an office, and started find more co-founders and pull a team together, and everything started from there. And we raised some capital and got more momentum, and finally got the idea from the lab to pilot phase just recently. So we had to fix a lot of stuff. Me and my co-founders, our background is very deep optics and photonics. So anything from nanostructured surfaces to optical systems, we know how to do it. There was a lot of problems, a lot of challenges in this idea, because it's a very novel idea. So and what it does is that it basically can replace the need for headsets or a lot of multi-monitor setups. So I like to show you a slide here that really talks about what are the challenges that we have, and they're amplified with COVID as well. So for example, everybody's familiar with the number of tabs you have open on a daily basis, right? So based on some studies done in University of Toronto, you have about 15 tabs open simultaneously if you're a professional. That's kind of average. I tend to have more tabs open actually. And the second big trend is, we are moving more toward modalities where space is more valuable, either telework or shared office spaces. It's all screaming at you that there's not much space. So that's why people are trying to have shared workspaces, and also telework. When you're doing telework, you don't want to have a gigantic desk setup in your apartment that's taking a lot of real estate. The third kind of interesting point that our angle helps to really touch upon, and no other display company has been able to really touch upon, is the aging eyes. So, as we get older and the population on average is getting older, we become more and more farsighted. It's a natural phenomenon. It's called presbyopia. And so that's why people wear reading glasses after age of 50, for example, because we lose our accommodation range. And display industry is doing nothing about that, right? They're completely ignoring that. They're just on a single mantra. They're like, higher resolution, better contrast, that's all we know, right? We don't care about the depth. We don't care about anything else. So what we are saying as BRELYON is, wait a minute, depth is actually very important, and it's a key enabler to go to new modalities of displays. So that's kind of what we are saying here. What we want to do is quite simple. We want to take what you see on the left and give you something that is 6 times smaller, like what you see on the right, and even supersede that experience of 6 monitor setup. Okay, so not a ton of rigs and cables flying around and all those things, and upgrading your graphics card. We want to give you one elegant design, one elegant device that engineers the light in such a way that it is as if you have those 6 monitors, or even more than that. So basically what we're doing is we're creating the first virtual monitor in the world, the first headset-free, immersive experience in some way. So this device can replace, of course, gaming setups or, trading desk monitors. The fintech section, they always want more monitors because they have a lot of need for real estate and information, and so we can cater to that. So that's kind of the idea. That's the ultra reality display. If you like, I can explain a little bit more on the technology side of it.
Yeah, I think that might be helpful. I mean, ultimately, this ultra reality, why? I mean, somebody asked me when I was talking to him about it, well, what's it going to do for my job? I know that's a very basic question, but that's an important one to answer.
Yeah, that's and it is a very good question. We really started with Y headset. Okay, that's where we started. We started with Y headset. And the reason the answer to that was because we want immersion. We want to have information everywhere. We want to be immersed, and that was the answer to that question. But why ultra reality is a slightly different question. It's simply because it's 10 times better than what you have. That's one answer. And the other answer is the need. There's no other way. Like, you don't want to have nobody wants to have a 6 monitor setup in between them and their kids at their home. That's a wall. And what we're doing is we're compressing something like a video wall experience into a very small form factor on your desk. So the space saving aspect of this is actually one of the reasons that it has value. And of course, the second angle is really immersion for gaming, for experiencing the digital world, but without the friction of wearing a headset.
Let's see, here comes a question from Noah. It says, does the image we're looking at in the show an existing product? Is there a demo of what it looks like inside the box?
Absolutely. It is actually, this is actually one of the latest, the closest prototypes to pilot. I think I have some images of the pilot as well. It is a real product, and we're selling that. So what this does is basically it changes the depth. There are 2 core technologies that we're combining here that are quite interesting. It's a little bit physicsy, but one of them is changing the depth. So what we can do is that we can change the monocular, the optical depth of an image, which means that if I have this cell phone here, for example, I can put a component on top of it. And when I press a button, that component is active component. I can change the image of this screen to sort of sink inside. So it will look like the image is further back. And then we have another set of technologies, which we call light field expansion technologies. People who have dealt with display research or display literature know more about light field. Light field is basically the full description of the light, the wavefront of the light that is coming to you from different angles and point sources. But light field expansion technology is basically a technology that increases the angular range that this light is coming to your face. So that would give you a larger field of view. And that's what our device does. So this is actually how it looks inside. You can see that, when you go inside, it's as if you're going to a different world almost, and you have this very large field of view. It looks like, the objects are actually very far. So you can see that there's depth into it. It's hard to show this on a 2D, 2D camera, but you can see that even with the wide field camera that we have used here, it's not able to capture all the field of view. And we have to kind of rotate it to the left and right to show you how big this field of view is. Actually, this one, it's more than 100 degrees field of view. It's around 110 degrees field of view, horizontal. And, this has, numerous applications. Coming back to your why question, yes, for people who are, okay with one monitor and one simple cheap monitor, this may not be, a big deal, because this is like telling someone who has a bike about Lamborghini,
I think everybody's moving beyond that. I mean,
it's like it's like you're telling, you can't go to someone and say, hey, here's Lamborghini, and he's like, well, I just commute with bike, and what do I need that for?
Bringing it together is really key, right? We've all been waiting for something like this. So I've got a couple questions flowing in here. One of them, Steve Igo says, hey, the image on my screen looks magnified. Somebody else says, hey, what if you use prescription glasses?
Those are both very good questions. The image basically is a virtual image that feels like it's further back. So what we give you at our pilot units that we're selling is about 122-inch diagonally display. So this is a 10-foot display, virtual display that we give you, with a device size that is on par with a 32-inch monitor. So the device is, the physical size of the device is 32-inch. So from that angle, yes, it is magnified in that sense. You are getting a light field that has a certain curvature, so that's giving you a very large field of view. And that's how you get that virtual image. With regard to prescription glasses, we actually don't care about what kind of prescription glasses you wear, but because we put the image at 1.4 meter distance, if you're sort of on the more senior side of the spectrum and you're farsighted, you don't actually need to wear your reading glasses to read from our screen, because the distance of the text to your face optically, it's actually about 1.4 meter. So that's a big plus for some people.
I think you've just got some people in the queue for a few orders for those. Hey, so one of the things when you and I were talking about coming on from the experts, this move from concept and everybody in your apartment to actually piloting this during the pandemic, that has been a real challenge. Can you share with the group a little bit about how that's been and talk to us?
Zombie apocalypse. That's how it has been. Like, I mean, how do I put it? So it was hard, man. It was hard. We initially started to cut salaries of the executives. So we were a very committed team. And then as soon as we did that, all the team said we're going to do that. But luckily, we had couple of checks coming from follow-up investors that came in. We also got the PPP loan, and that really helped us to roll back the salaries back to the original amount. And one thing that is still hard for us is that our product is physical. Our product is very experience-based, and it's difficult to help you understand how does this look like and feels like without you actually sitting in front of this display, right, and using it. So we have came up with a bunch of sort of creative ways to get around the problems that we had. One was, using virtual assets like, 360 videos, just record a whole bunch of videos, trying to share that with people, with our customers, with our clients, using Zoom, social media, all those things. We try to, get some press as well, so that we can gain more traction. I gave a talk in Kansas City, TEDx KC, in the middle of pandemic, when the airport was completely empty and airplane was completely empty, and that was a fun experience, in a sarcastic way.
Yeah.
And
Well, what you're saying is right. So, these questions that our audience has asked so far, they wouldn't have to if they were right there with you. So that is a barrier to overcome. And I guess, the 360 camera and things like that. But back to the audience. Hey guys, do you guys have any experience like this or anything that you could recommend to
Barmak, yeah.
his team? If you do, now's the time to speak up. That's a real challenge. I was thinking the photo booth idea is great, but these things, you don't have a bunch of them laying around probably, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
So one of the things I think would really help us is, is there any other way that you can better sell a physical product, a hardware experience-based product in a pandemic when people cannot come to your office? What's the best way to do that? So, our answer was virtual, just get a whole bunch of videos from all different angles, and try to give that sort of visual experience. We also try to make some system, like, for example, let's have some Zoom updates for our, clients that are most closest to actually close a deal, do some sort of reveal to them or get them excited about the progress we have made and such. So we also did a bunch of things like that. But yeah, so is there any answers, John, in the audience, from the audience?
Well, we've got Noah, who's saying, hey, there's a big push for home office furniture. What about some kind of partnering scheme with those people so you're actually getting something into the homes?
That's a great angle, and it's a very, very fair judgment.
People bring that in, so maybe they'll want to bring in better visualization,
Yes, we actually pursued that angle, and we made two partnerships. One is with Altwork, the other one with Centrex, which these guys make sort of advanced transformable, working station or gaming station. And so those are the two partnerships that we actually made through this pandemic, because exactly the same reason that you mentioned, the work from home market is really booming, and people are realizing that, just a laptop or, tiny monitor is really not good enough. That's why you have better setup at work, and if you're supposed to work from home like 8 hours a day, every day, then you really better polish that setup. So that's where, our product can really help and it can really shine.
Right. So a couple of other questions. So back to, I still have somebody who hasn't really quite bought into this yet. So Brian says, hey, my issue is font size resolution. How does this improve things like that?
I'm glad that this question was raised. Yes, we thought a lot about that. So if you have realized 4K is actually the maximum resolution that your eyes can see in a 32-inch monitor at 70 centimeter distance. So that's basic science from human eye acuity perspective. So if you go above 4K in 32-inch, for example, you have an 8K 32-inch monitor, and you're sitting 70 centimeter, your face is 70 centimeter away from it, your eyes have scientifically no way to see that much pixels, okay, at that distance. So now, having said that, I'm sure that when you're using 4K as well, you're actually not using the actual 4K font size, which is super small. If you have ever tried to, put your monitor, if you have ever worked with a 4K monitor, if you put it on the actual, normal font size, is super small because 4K is so dense. So our units, the one that we have right now, has 4K resolution, but because we increased the field of view a lot, you can actually go to 2 or 3 notches further down on your font size, and you can still read it because the image is magnified in some ways. So in short, yes, we have thought about it. With our display, you can usually reduce your font size by three levels, and that helps you to have a lot more tabs open. And that's actually one of the ways we bring value, because you don't have to constantly toggle between the tabs anymore, because you can have more of them open with this smart font size.
That's what we want. So Morton says, what about eye strain compared to the regular monitor use? Any difference there?
That is also a very good technical question. There is no difference there in terms of eye strain. We don't have any sort of fatigue on the eye. We give you an image that has very minimal astigmatism or aberration. So we actually have a process that when we're designing these designs, we go through several iterations to make sure that the wavefront that this device is generating is in a way that basically follows what natural human eye wants. Now, having said that, if you, for example, start to look at this display from a very strange angle, then yeah, naturally you wouldn't get the best experience, and your eyes will get tired. But you're not supposed to. So this display has a certain volume in front of it, which is equal to the average volume you move your head in front of a 32-inch monitor. So you can do this, you can do this, you can go further back and type, you can sort of lean forward, whatever you want, that's fine. But if you go to a very, very steep angle, like more than, I don't know, 100 degrees or something like that, then you start to crop image, and you also get some aberrations and those kind of artifacts.
A couple more things. Idar from Washington, D.C., he says, hey, what about providing a physical sample to social media product reviewer who'll talk about the benefits? Maybe that's another way?
Yes, influencers. That's a great idea. I think that's something that we will at some point consider. Absolutely. It's a good idea.
And then we had another one from Scott Dozier. He says, hey, could you invest in key partners with a physical unit that may be a key advocate for you? Send it to some, famous gamers, for example, maybe military apps.
Yes, I mean, military apps, that's definitely something that is very interesting for us. And we have talked to a bunch of those entities. So that is part of our bookings that we have. But also for gamers, I think we are at the pilot phase. So, we want to do that when we're closer to beta, which is a larger production. At pilot phase, really a goal of a hardware company is to get this to scalable partners. So who are our scalable partners? That's the question. So we know that we have a lot of applications in, fintech, people who do trading, people who need multi-monitor setups. So we have actually partnered up with some banks that are excited about this solution. The control centers is the second sort of aspect that we're going after. And then the gamers. Actually, I have this graph here that shows that. So fintech workers, control centers, gamers, and then we have, office use case, which is the biggest chunk. But the difference between these verticals is that the average office users, they usually pay very little for their monitor setup compared to what we are providing. We are not price competitive there. But fintech workers and control centers, they pay actually a lot for their setup because they usually have 6 monitor setups or 4 monitor setups and such. So they pay on average somewhere around like $2,000 to $3,000 for their multi-monitor setup. So we're more price competitive there. And that's why we have started our pilot phase from those verticals rather than sort of consumer facing, because you're still a little far from consumer facing product.
Okay, well, the great thing about From the Experts is we have folks from all industries, including real estate. So Noah Kruger is in real estate. By day, however, he says he'll volunteer as the expert gamer. So he'll take on one of these units for you. But he says, hey, what's the price point? And will there be a pro and consumer version? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, that's a question we get a lot. Of course, these kind of there's a range that we're targeting for future. It all comes down to nitty-gritty of the production, and that will dictate the price at the end for consumer level. But for consumer level, we're targeting somewhere from $1,000 to $2,000. That's kind of the price range that we're targeting. And for beta, it's around $5,000. Our pilot also starts from $5,000. So that's the price.
All right. Hey, Sid calls on the line. Sid, what you got?
So, hey, thanks for letting me speak, John. So my question is more kind of end user use case. We do a ton of work in modeling and simulation for flight control systems, guidance, navigation control for terrestrial, air, and space vehicles. So my question is, how realistic is the image? I'm using the generic word realistic. How accurate is the representation of?
So the image quality is actually very high. It's a very accurate image from that sense. If you're asking about what is the depth of field or accuracy of the depth, so we're trying to follow the 1.4 meter horopter of the eye. So the human horopters, they have certain curvature, right? And
yeah, I was looking at the image example you showed, and it showed like there was spherical aberration, like there was aberration. You had the curvature thing happening.
There is a curvature. There is definitely a curvature, right? And that curvature is trying to follow what you would see at 1.4 meter distance, right? So also that the sort of the squinting that you see in this image is not actually from the image itself, it's from the camera, because this is a wide lens camera that we have used to capture this film. When you see it, it's really good. It's not, it's not some sort of a distorted image that looks like like you're looking through a bubble or something like that.
Okay, so the aberration in the example image does not reflect reality.
Yeah, this is actually from the camera itself, because the camera is a wide lens camera. It's like a fisheye lens camera.
Yeah, because in our applications, the vast majority of optical equipment available does not work because of exactly that issue. Because the moment you start looking past the generic use, it immediately starts curving.
Okay. So Barmak and Sid, I'd ask you guys, it sounds like you have something interesting to talk about. If we could keep going. That's the last question. And so, as we do with all of our experts, Barmak, we have an ask and a give. So what would your ask be to the audience?
I think we have got a very good interaction with the audience here up to now. I think my ask is two things. One is, as a hardware company, if any of you guys is in the hardware business or in display business, if there is any other way that you think we should have considered to work and interact with the outside world in a pandemic, let me know. And the second ask is, if you feel that this product is interesting for you or for someone, definitely reach out to me. My email is barmak@BRELYON.com. Very, very straightforward. And we have pilot going on. We can definitely get engaged, especially if you're in Bay Area.
Got it. everybody will get the contact information from everybody on the call, including Barmak. So what about your give? What are you willing to freely give to the folks on the call today?
I like this. I'm a big giver, I would say. I would like to, if you need any advice in optics, photonics, I have a long expertise there. I have a team of scientists from Harvard, from DARPA that are working with me in this company. They have very deep expertise in optics and photonics. Other things that I can provide is if you need help with illustrations, I know a lot of artists that can, visualize your ideas or whatever sketch you want to do. So that's another thing that I can give. Let's see what else I can put on the table.
Yeah, I know, you got to hold some of this back. You only need to give two things, but thank you very, very much, Barmak. So now a word from our sponsor, Ecosystems 2030. So Dr. Omar Hatemla is on the show with us. Omar, he's the author of Between Brains and the visionary founder of Ecosystems 2030. Omar, what should we expect on this third webinar from ES 2030 and why join? You still there? I was going in the airport. But what I'll do is I'm going to try to share screen.
I can stop sharing.
All right. Let me do that real quick because I think Omar was trying to bring his family into the, I'm going to share that. So, move this over here. So this is about Ecosystems 2030. And folks, if you like From the Experts, this Ecosystems 2030, I think is for you. You can go to es2030.com or to the From the Experts LinkedIn page to register for their third webinar on September 16th. So check it out. Now let me go back.
John, could you spend like 10 seconds on what that's about?
Yeah, all right. So what it really came from two guys that made this book together. So Dr. Hatemla was one of them. And this Between Brains book, they came up with this idea of Ecosystems 2030. So it's an interdisciplinary forum for executives, senior engineers, thought leaders, innovators, and futurists to explore the ecosystems emerging over the next 10 years. So they're doing it piece by piece. So the technologies that they're keyed in on are artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, fintech, 3D printing, robotics, virtual, augmented reality. So that's what it's about. They've got a big conference in November. It's very select, but they're also sharing some of the visions and views and thoughts, insights from different speakers. So that's what that's about. So you'll learn more if you want to sign up for this September, what did I say it was? September 16th, I think. Yeah, September 16th webinar. So that's that. So now let's on to leads and needs, the networking part of the show. So as we know, more trust in the group equals richer networking. And everything we experiment in this part of the show is about building confidence, trust with each other in order to connect the opportunities faster. Good way to do this, open group discussion. And lucky for us, our expert, Dr. Heshmat, has a great topic that we're going to open up further. So, well, let's get to it. The question was disruption opportunities for your business using ultra reality. How could ultra reality capabilities be adapted to improve your business and what applications? Now, when I start on that, I wanted to go back. Steve, are you still on the line? Can you bring forward your question? He comes from Houston Methodist Hospital. Can you tell us what you were going to say about the applications in the medical healthcare field?
Yes, can you hear me, John?
Yeah, I got you. Hey, good to see you.
Let me see if I can get off this video here.
Yeah.
So here I am. Kind of repeat your question again. I was fooling around with the controls.
Yeah, no. So what during Barmak's presentation, you put forward a question. and you were just sharing some of the experience. So now we're trying to investigate a little bit further on how ultra reality is productive in different industry sets. And you come from the medical healthcare and got a lot of experience. So maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Sure. We have been using, as I said in my comments there, we've been using real 3D imaging for, either CT images or MRI or echo for a number of years. And it's really important for us in pre-intervention planning. We can actually section a heart, for instance, and precisely tell where a heart tumor is, or can section the aortic valve to know precisely where the calcium is, because we want to be able to move that calcium out of the way when we put in a transcatheter valve. But, and John knows this, we've had a program now for 14 years at Houston Methodist called Pumps and Pipes. And, this is a collaborative program between energy, medicine, and aerospace in Houston. And so we've been involved with, and there's a number of companies, Schlumberger, a number of groups out in the Webster area doing work on 3D imaging as well. Some of this is obviously headset oriented. We don't really have considered the weight of these devices as being necessarily a problem, but that's why I was interested in seeing your, I was hoping to actually be able to get kind of an impression of what the screen looked like. But certainly with what we've been doing now with medical imaging, wow, I can walk inside a heart. We can blow it up, and I can actually be standing right on top of a heart valve. So, and there are a couple of other companies now that are developing systems where you can actually hold the image in your hand. It gets off of the screen. So these are areas that we're looking at, and I think you're onto something. I was hoping to kind of see a little bit more about what it actually looks like. But yeah, this kind of monitoring will be important in the future, no doubt.
Thoughts on that, Barmak?
Yeah, so I have more to show, more slides to show. If I get the time, I can show a little bit more about how sort of it looks like and what the device looks like and such. But with regard to 3D, at our pilot phase, at least, we are focused on 2D. So we're doing 2D actually. So it's a 2D virtual image, but it does have monocular depth. We do have also some, prototypes that have sparse depth. They're sparse depth light field, so which means that you have multiple depths, like a stack of depth, stack of focal plane that is shown to you simultaneously. We also do have that. I think what we realize is that it is correct that ultimately for medical industry and for some architecture-based applications, you really need that fidelity in depth. But we felt that for us, from the angle that we are, from the scale that we're at, we wanted to be able to bring a value that is much broader than just depth, just 3D, right? Because 3D actually, if you look at historically, has been tried many times, right? So 3D, there was 3D TVs, there has been lenticular lens, like autostereoscopic displays, the one that you're referring to. There was a polarization-based 3D where you wear some sort of, shutter glasses or just polarized glasses like IMAX 3D that helps you to see, that 3D depth. And actually, we can adapt that to be in this device as well. Some polarization-based 3D or something like that. But, initially when we went to explore the market, we wanted to be able to go toward angles where we feel that we bring most value. So for example, Stefan, let me give you an example. If you could have an 8K, 122-inch display that you could see very high resolution, that information in that 2D, that camera, whatever that is capturing from the heart or something, would you prefer that to some sort of a lower resolution, 3D? What do you think?
Well, that's a good question. And I think we'd have to kind of do a side-by-side comparison.
Exactly.
As I said, for us, accuracy is everything. And we've had obviously success in the 3D world, but looking at it from, you know, having a more dedicated monitor on your desktop, it would be helpful. I think it's just a matter of side-by-side comparison.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely is. You know, specifically with displays, it's really, you know, even when you go to buy like a display in a Best Buy, you know, you always want to like really look at this display and look at that one and see which one has a better fidelity and contrast. All those factors come into play. And I totally agree with you. It really depends on how much value this is bringing to you. We focused on where we can, what is the need that majority of the market is asking for. And we realized that, oh my gosh, it's obviously display size. That's why people are tiling displays, you know? And that's why we sort of like focused on that angle rather than trying to really double down on 3D, you know, say like, we have to get the best 3D experience.
So people from beyond medical and healthcare, how could this help? How could this UR capability help adapt and improve your business? Anybody? We've got folks from obviously fintech, we've got aerospace. Anybody have something they really want Barmak to be working on for them? Now's the time. Come on, don't be shy. So Barmak, you had mentioned.
We have Brian.
Yeah, who's that?
Yeah,
Brian,
this is Brian. I was just thinking, you know, like ROV operation, we're flying the little, or drone operation. The operator's sitting there for hours on end, and there's like eye fatigue and others, not to mention a lot of extra things. Is there anything that helps with? I know we've been talking about senioritis, eye strain and stuff like that, but I guess fatigue and you know, sitting in one spot at long times. Is there anything that you guys are doing in that area to help?
We are. So basically what we're doing is, as I mentioned, this about this partnership with Altwork. So if you've seen Altwork Station, they are these kind of transformable recliners, which are very ergonomic. So they help to reduce your fatigue. And with regard to you know, the display itself, we have, you know, we are the engineers. We have really access to all the knobs that we want. So if, for example, you want this image to be a little bit further back for the eye to be more relaxing, we can do that. If you want it to be further close to a larger field of view, we can do that. So we have those capabilities, which, you know, we have these parameters that we can tune for different applications depending on, you know, how interesting or intriguing we find those applications.
One last one, and then I'm going to kind of close down the show, but we can continue the conversation after. Any more questions? Industry ideas?
There's Idar.
Yeah.
I was wondering, Barmak, we make software for incident and crisis management. Same problem that was just mentioned. Fatigue, lots of, you know, bigger, not necessarily walls, but potentially walls of screens, but also on the desktop, multiple screens. This would also include security operations, I would think. I'm just wondering if that is one of your target markets. It looked like that on your one slide.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that's both of these last two questions. They go after one of the verticals that we refer to as teleoperations. Basically, where you have a control center or teleoperations center, and you have this like gigantic set of monitors, and you have to constantly, you know, flip around different windows and such, or look at a bunch of videos simultaneously. We definitely cater to that market. That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I have a partner who runs one of the large security operations in the U.S. And I'll touch base with you, see what the
that would be great. That would be great.
Thanks, Idar. Appreciate that. So, you know, the question for everyone here, from the experts is how can the network help you? So you have to ask each other, just like this, get connected. On our next show, Tuesday, September 22nd, we're fortunate to have Andrea Sittig-Rolf, CEO of Blitzmasters, join us. She's going to be sharing her experience and the challenges of prospecting in the pandemic. So we're looking forward to it, Andrea. You have 2 words to tell us what we should be looking forward to?
Well, I have a couple more than 2.
Yeah, but time for 3. So
okay, yeah, three words. So what I'll say is don't call to sell, call to solve. And we'll talk more about that on the 22nd.
22nd. Thank you, Andrea. So at a time, so calling all experts, you know, from the experts is a unique platform to learn, share, grow, network, and to learn more about business drivers and what business leaders are thinking. Do you guys have a customer or strategic partner that you want to invite and sponsor as a guest on this show? Are you curious? Let's talk. And how are we doing? You're going to get a 3-question survey with the participants list here in a little bit, a couple hours. So please, your ideas, feedback, let's make the show even better than it is today. So grateful to spend time with you today. Please stay connected. That's the end of the show. We can hang out longer, but I hope this was the smartest 30 minutes or 48 minutes of your day. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Thanks,
So
we can hang out. Anybody that wants to hang out, Dr. Heshmat is here.